Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In meeting 15, we will learn about subordinating conjunctions. In the previous meeting, you learned about passive voice part 1 and part 2, and also you have already learned about coordinating conjunction. Now it's time for us to learn about subordinating conjunction, the definitions, the functions, and also the examples of subordinating conjunctions. What is subordinating conjunction? Subordinating conjunctions are used to create complex sentences containing one independent clause or main clause and one dependent or subordinate clause. The subordinating conjunction does two things. First, it introduces and subordinates the dependent clause, telling the reader that it's less important than the independent clause, and it explains what relationship it has to the independent clause. Consider the following example. I went to the supermarket. We were out of milk. Both of these sentences can stand on their own. However, there is no clear relationship between them. Instead, we can join them together with a subordinating conjunction, which would sound more natural. I went to the supermarket since we were out of milk. The subordinating conjunction since transforms the second clause from an independent clause into a dependent clause. It subordinates it. For example, since we were out of milk can no longer stand alone, but is dependent on the independent clause that it's now connected to. So in the sentence, I went to the supermarket since we were out of milk consists of two clauses. Independent clause, I went to the supermarket, and dependent clause, since we were out of milk. If you write only the dependent clause in your sentence without having an independent clause in the beginning of your sentence, so your sentence becomes meaningless. The word since also clarifies that the relationship between the two clauses is one of cause and effect, and it tells the reader that the independent clause I went to the supermarket is more important. I remind you again and again that the independent clause is more important than the dependent clause in a sentence. Now, let's go on to discuss about the structure and the punctuation. When we use subordinating conjunctions to join two clauses, it doesn't matter which clause comes first. The subordinating conjunction may appear either at the beginning or in the middle of the new sentence. Remember, the position or the structure of subordinating conjunction can appear either at the beginning or in the initial of a sentence, or probably it can be put in the middle of the new sentence. Therefore, the following two sentences are both correct. Please pay attention to these two sentences. I went to the supermarket since we were out of milk. Here, the conjunction is since, and it's located in the middle of the sentence. In addition, you can put the conjunction in the beginning of the sentence. So it becomes, since we were out of milk, I went to the supermarket. Note that when we place the subordinating conjunction in the middle of the sentence, as in the first example, we normally don't need a comma. Please take a look at the first sentence. I went to the supermarket since we were out of milk. Do you notice there is a comma? No, there isn't any. On the other hand, when we place the subordinating conjunction at the beginning of the sentence, as in the second example, we normally do need to use a comma. We normally really need to use comma to separate between the dependent clause in the beginning of the sentence and the independent clause at the end of the sentence. For the sake of consistency, the independent clause will appear first in the examples we look at below, but remember that this order is reversible. Moving along to the next slide, we talk about the function of subordinating conjunctions. As mentioned, one of the jobs of a subordinating conjunction is to establish the relationship between the two clauses. Which conjunction we use depends on the nature of that relationship. Below are some of the most common subordinating conjunctions and their functions. Now I want you to repeat after me. I will read the example of subordinating conjunction because in this slide you see there are some words used to have a subordinating conjunction in a sentence. Now, let's see the first subordinating conjunction is subordinating conjunction of cause. The second is comparison or concession. The third is condition. And after that, place. The next is reason. And last but not least, about time. Now repeat after me. As, because, since, just as, although, even though, whereas, while, even if, as long as, in case, provided that, providing, where, wherever, in order that, so that, after, before, as soon as, once, until, when, whenever, and while. Now, let me give you examples of subordinating conjunction cause. We use as, because, and since. Remember, as, because, and since means karena in bahasa. Interchangeably to state the cause of something. For example, the project was successful as you all worked very hard. Second example, the project was successful because you all worked very hard. The project was successful since you all worked very hard. So the conjunction as, because, and since have the same meaning, karena in bahasa. Each of the three examples above expresses the same causal relationship, although as is a bit more formal in tone than because or since. So what makes them different? Because and since are more informal than as. So let me repeat. As is more formal than the conjunction because and since. Now, comparison and concession similarities. We can use as to state that two ideas are similar. We can also use just as to add extra emphasis to this statement. For example, it's pouring rain as I thought it would. As here means seperti in bahasa. Remember, as can have two meanings, as karena, as seperti. Second example, she was late again just as we expected. In this sentence, the writer really wants to add extra emphasis that she was late again, just as we expected. So it's not a surprising news that she always comes late. The third example, he didn't turn up as you told me he wouldn't. And for your information, you can only use as in the middle of a sentence. But if you want to put as in the beginning of the sentence, it's also permitted. So in the first sentence, you can say, as I thought it would, it's pouring rain. As he told me he wouldn't, he didn't turn up. Remember, here, if you want to put subordinating conjunction in the beginning of the sentence, there should be any comma to separate the two clauses. Note that the examples above flow better with a comma, even though the subordinating conjunction is not in the initial position. Remember, if you put the subordinating conjunction in the middle of a sentence, it looks like it flows much better. Now, expressing contrast and concession while and whereas. While and whereas both express contrast. For example, my brother worked really hard while I didn't make much of an effort. I can't stand watching tennis, whereas I love watching basketball. So while and whereas in bahasa Indonesia you can define as namun, sedangkan. While and whereas can be used interchangeably, but whereas is often considered more formal. Remember that. Note also that, like with just as above, we use a comma between the clauses even though the subordinating conjunction are not in the initial position. Initial means the beginning position. We use although, though, and even though to say that something occurred in spite of something else. Though and also are interchangeable, while even though adds extra emphasis. For example, I went to that restaurant although I was told it wasn't very good. Or I went to that restaurant even though I was told it wasn't very good. Take a look at the second example. The conjunction even though in the sentence only adds extra emphasis, no more than that. Condition. We use the subordinating conjunction even if, as long as, in case, provided that, providing when referring to a hypothetical situation. Even if in bahasa means bahkan jika, if jika atau seandainya, as long as selama, in case barangkali, just in case, ya, kalau saja, provided that and providing have similar meaning, asalkan, ya. If is the most common conjunction for hypothetical sentences. We use it when one action is required for another to occur. For example, I will buy you a pizza if you help me move my furniture. You should buy a new TV if you get a bigger apartment. As long as, provided that, and providing all mean the same as if. Jadi semua itu bermakna sama. Jika, seandainya. But they emphasize the requirement of the conditional action. We can use them interchangeably. For example, I will buy you a pizza as long as you help me move my furniture. It means that I will only buy you a pizza if you help me. If you don't help me, I won't buy you a pizza or another food. You should buy a new TV providing you get a bigger apartment. It means that there is a condition. Kondisi di sini bukan berarti kondisi, tapi condition di sini artinya adalah persyaratan. You should only buy a new TV if you get a bigger apartment. Ya, kamu bisa membeli sebuah TV baru asalkan jikalau kamu memiliki apartemen yang lebih besar. We use even if when an outcome will occur despite a hypothetical action. For example, I will buy you a pizza even if you don't help me move my furniture. It means that I will buy the pizza anyway. Ya. Jadi kalau even if, bahkan jika, ini merupakan outcome, ya, hasil yang akan terjadi, ya, meskipun ya dia tidak melakukannya. Misalkan, I will buy you a pizza even if you don't help me move my furniture. Saya akan membelikanmu pizza bahkan jika kamu tidak menolong saya memindahkan furniture saya. Jadi saya tetap akan membeli. Mau kamu tolong, mau kamu tidak, it doesn't really matter. Number 2, he's going to pass his test even if he doesn't study. It means that he will pass despite not studying. Dia tetap akan lulus tesnya, bahkan jikalau dia nggak belajar. Jadi jikalau dia nggak belajar pun, dia tetap akan lulus ujiannya. Itu yang membedakan antara if, as long as, provided that, sama providing dengan even if. Okay? We use in case to suggest a precaution against a hypothetical possibility. For example, I'm bringing an umbrella in case it starts raining. It means that I'm worried it might rain, so I'm bringing an umbrella. She put her phone on silent in case it rang during the movie. Meaning that she was concerned her phone would ring in the middle of the movie, so she silenced it. Place. When a dependent clause is related to a place, we use where and wherever, but they are not interchangeable. For most situations, we use where, as in, he lives where it's always sunny, meaning that he lives in a place that is sunny. Can we go where it's a little quieter? It means that can we go to a place that is quieter? We use wherever to emphasize that we mean any or every place rather than a specific location. For example, I want to go wherever it's quieter. Meaning that I want to go to any place quieter. I don't mind where. Dimanapun akan berbeda dengan kata where di mana. Jadi kalau di mana sudah pasti tempatnya, kalau wherever dimanapun. Ya, yang penting tempatnya lebih sepi, maka saya akan pergi ke sana. I don't mind where it is. Itu yang membedakan antara where sama wherever. Number 2, he bikes wherever he goes. Artinya apa? Dia mengendarai sepedanya kemanapun dia pergi. He bikes to every place that he goes. Reason. We use in order that, so that, and so to give a reason. They are interchangeable in meaning but differ in formality. Compare the following sentences. Our boss asked us to take detailed notes in order that nothing would be forgotten. It sounds formal. Our boss asked us to take detailed notes so that nothing would be forgotten. It sounds neutral. Our boss asked us to take detailed notes so nothing would be forgotten. Less formal. That's what makes in order that, so that, and so different. Formal, neutral, and less formal. Time, previously. To state that the action of the independent clause occurred first, we use before. For example, I went shopping before I came home. It means that I went shopping first. He won the first prize in a spelling bee before starting 5th grade. He won the prize first. Time, concurrently. When two actions occur at the same time, there are several subordinating conjunctions we can use, but each has a slightly different meaning. If we are not adding any particular emphasis, we use when. I was sleeping when the phone rang. I saw my brother when he was out with his friends. However, to emphasize that two actions occurred or will occur at exactly the same time or in rapid succession, we use once or as soon as. Please clean your room once you get home. Call me back as soon as you can. Time, subsequently. When the action of the independent clause happens second in a series of action, we use after. I went shopping after I finished work. It means that I finished work first, then went shopping. He won first prize in a spelling bee after he started 5th grade. It means that he started 5th grade first, then won a spelling bee. Time, up to a certain time. To state that one action stops when another one begins, we use until. For example, he ran track until he moved here. It means that he stopped running track when he moved here. You can borrow my jacket until I need it. It means that you must stop using it when I need it. Time, anytime or every time. Finally, we use whenever to state that the time doesn't matter or that two actions always happen together. For example, call me whenever you get home. It means that call me when you get home, but I don't mind when that is. She cries whenever she sees a sad movie. It means that she cries every time she sees a sad movie. Well, that's all the explanation of subordinating conjunction in this meeting. Should you need a further information, feel free to contact me both in the forum or in the WhatsApp. Stay healthy and safe. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.